This has to be one of the greatest experiences I've ever had listening to an audiobook. Not just like an audiobook, but Warhammer lore as a whole. It was just absolutely brilliant. It was spine chilling. It was magnificent. It was just epic. Now before I jump in and start talking about the details, which I'm losing my mind over, I just want to make you aware that this video is going to contain spoilers for Echoes of Eternity. If you haven't read that book and you don't want to be spoiled, then please leave now. This is your first and only warning. Now this is not going to be a full breakdown of Echoes of Eternity. I'm going to be doing that later on in the week. I just want to talk about a certain scene, and that is Sanguinius holding the Eternity Gate. Oh boy, this was everything that I dreamt of. This is everything that I imagined it would be. It was one of the greatest scenes I've ever just read or listened to, as in my case, I was doing it on the audiobook. It was just absolutely fantastic from start to finish. The atmosphere that Aaron managed to create is just so grim dark, so bloody. It's one of these things where I haven't seen yet in the Siege book, where it really shows you the true horror of the siege. And like I mentioned, it was just epic. So Sanguinius actually fights two big things at the Eternity Gate. One is Carbanda, and the other one is Angron himself. So let's start with Carbanda, because both of these fights are just wow. So the first one with Carbanda comes back onto Terra. He's basically been licking his wounds since Sanguinius yeeted him on Cygnus Prime. He's kind of like fell down in like the demon ranks, and he's been hunting like his fellow demons to try and gather his strength to make himself look a bit better. He actually confronts Khorne and says, Khorne, give me another chance. I demand another chance. And Khorne basically says, okay, I will give you another chance. But what you have to do, you have to go to Terra and kill 500 Blood Angels. And Carbanda's like, 500 Blood Angels? I can do that. And he's like, yeah, but you have to do it in front of Sanguinius. And he's like, okay then, okay, this may be a little bit hard. So he goes to Terra, and of course he fights the Blood Angels in front of the Eternity Gate. Sanguinius sees this and he's like, I will kill you again, demon. So Carbanda's like trying to kill all these Blood Angels, and Sanguinius is like chasing him down and stuff, and they have this amazing, absolutely just epic duel. It's in the air, it's on the ground, you know, he's being stabbed, he's being smashed. It is just absolutely epic. And then Sanguinius is so tired, he manages to break him, he casts him down, kills Carbanda again, rips him apart, and you're like, oh my god, that was epic. This is the duel that we all know from like the old lore of Sanguinius fighting Carbanda, and it was perfect. It was perfect in every single sentence. Every word that was spoken about this duel was just amazing. And then Sanguinius is like very out of breath. Then all of a sudden, there's this glowing meteorite crashing down towards the Eternity Gate, and Sanguinius knows who it is because it's shouting, Sanguinius! And then boom, it lands, and it's Angron, and you're like, oh my god, he's just defeated Carbanda, and then Angron turns up. This is insane. I thought the Carbanda duel was good, but this just takes it to a different level. The emotion, the rage, the bloodlust, just these two epic Primarchs, Sanguinius and Angron, the Primarchs that we've spoken about so many times. Like, even though I theorized that these two would fight, when it actually started to happen, I was like, oh my god. I can't believe it. I cannot believe we're actually at this stage where we're getting Sanguinius fighting Demon Angron. And it was just the most incredible thing, again, I've ever listened to. Everything in this book is just top tier. I'll keep saying this. If you haven't got this book, really, go out and get it. Go out and get an Audible or an audio book, digital, wherever you want to go. It is just a 10 out of 10 book. Probably the best book. He's up there with Saturnine for me when it comes to the Siege of Terra so far. The duel itself is an absolute spectacle. Like, I had to go back and listen to it 3 or 4 times because just how magnificent it was. as Sanguinius and Angron are fighting, like the Blood Angels and the World Eaters are fighting at their feet and stuff. And it's like, you got these two giants fighting on the battlefield, the Blood Angels and the World Eaters are fighting. It's just like this epic duel to save humanity. There's such a bunch of awesome things in there. Of course, these are two beastly Primarchs are smashing each other, hitting each other, smashing each other in the face, swords, spears, stuff like that. There's this really cool scene where Sanguinius takes to the air and Angron follows him, but Sanguinius is very nimble, he can dodge stuff, and there's this Stormbird that flies over, and Sanguinius like dodges it, and Angron's like, nope, not having that. He just crashes into it, splits the Stormbird in half, just because he's an absolute beast. The Stormbird explodes and starts spiraling towards the ground. It's just these little things in it that really make it. There's another scene where they're on the ground again, and then Sanguinius takes to the air again, and Angron picks up Sanguinius' spear because it's on the ground because they've been fighting, and he throws it with all his might at Sanguinius, and he thinks he's got to impale Sanguinius and kill him, and Sanguinius dodges it, but he doesn't just dodge it, he catches it in midair. He catches it with all the speed and stuff like that Angron can throw it, and then he does like this kind of twirl and spin and spins around, and then with the momentum of it throws the spear back at Angron, and it's like described as like a meteorite falling down to earth. Like it's that fast, that powerful, and Angron's like, I'll catch this. Then all of a sudden it's like there was just air. There was just air. There was nothing in Angron's grip, and Angron is literally impaled. It's like boom, right through him, impaled into the ground. The thing that they make clear in this book is that with Angron, that he can't really be killed because the powers that of Khorne. So Sanguinius is doing all this damage to him, but Angron is slowly healing from it, and that means that everything that Sanguinius does, he's slowly losing the battle because he's getting more exhausted, and Angron's just going back to his full strength, his full power and stuff like that. So it's kind of a backward step. He's being pushed back to the Eternity Gate. And then we get to like the end of the duel where basically Angron grips Sanguinius and he stabs him. He stabs him in the belly with his black sword. And by the way, I must add, at this point in the siege, Angron has killed over 1 million people, like 1 million defenders. That's Custodes, Space Marines, Imperial Army, Scutari Mechanicus, Titans, whatever you want to call it. He has got a tally on him. He is just this unstoppable monster at this point of the siege. So he stabs Sanguinius and he's like, this is it. This is the end of you, little angel. He says something on the lines of that or something. It's something more epic than that. It was just me just talking crap. And we learn that this was part of Sanguinius' kind of plan because it's brought him closer to Angron. And what Sanguinius does, he grabs the nails on top of Angron's head and he begins to rip them out. And when he's ripping them out, Angron kind of gets a sense of his self back, because Angron at this point is just a absolute maddened monster. Like there's no Angron really bouncing around in his head. So when he starts ripping out the nails, there's like a little bit of Angron that comes back, and then Angron actually begs. It makes like a big point to this, like, Angron would always debate. He said this, but he begs. He says, "Please, no!" And a lot of people I've read on the internet have taken this like Angron was begging for his life. For me, I don't really see it that way. I think Angron was begging Sanguinius not to rip out the nails, because the nails are such a part of Angron now. It basically is him, and for him to lose the nails would be for him to basically lose himself, lose his personality. That's the way I took it anyway. Maybe he was begging for his life. I don't know. Maybe it's, you can decide when you get to it, or you can tell me, do you think he was begging for his life or he wasn't begging for his life? So he ends up ripping out the nails along with like his skull and stuff like that. And of course, Sanguinius is the winner. I'm briefly going over this, by the way. There's so much more into this. I'm not doing it justice. I really 100% not doing this justice. There's like there's this whole thing with Horus involved in this fight as well, which I haven't mentioned. I'm going to leave that to the main spoiler review. But it was absolutely fantastic. And then Sanguinius, slowly goes back in wounded. Of course, he's a Primarch. He can handle a little bit of a stabby to the belly. And then the Eternity Gate shuts, and basically the book ends. The book ends actually with a message. But again, I'm not going to talk about this in this video because that's going to be for my full spoiler review. and it's just brilliant. It's brilliant from start to finish. I loved every second of this book. Again, if you haven't read the book, if you haven't picked it up, go and get it. I'm telling you right now, it will be the greatest thing you ever listen to, ever read. It is fan-bloody-tastic. Right, enough waffling from me. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. If you've got any thoughts, feedback, anything like that, post it down below, and we can have a nice little talk down there, as we always do. See you now. Have a great day, and bye-bye.